taking some much needed, oh, hey, there we go, taking some much needed family break, and Scott and his wife, Audrey, are expecting a baby any day, and they didn't know if he was going to be here today or not. So you get the Michael Rapp Show. There you go. We're going to do something really unique and fun today. We did this last year, and what we're going to do is, rather than me talk for a half hour, I'm going to share a little bit. I'm going to read a verse and break it down a little bit, and then we're going to pass this, and we're going to give you guys an opportunity, if you like, to share what God's been doing in your life, share how you got connected to Whitewater, share things that you're thankful for. And 2 years ago, we did this last year, I guess, last year, the Sunday after Christmas, and George and Scott told me we were going to do this, and I looked them in the eyes, and I said, it's the worst idea you've ever had. This is going to be so awkward. And it ended up being one of the coolest services we've ever done, and I've just been looking forward to it ever since. We all of us have a story, and it's so cool to see what God's doing in each other's lives. So I'm going to jump into a verse that I want to break down to kind of set the stage, set the context for what we're going to be doing, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. So I'm using my phone Bible, and this should be up on the screen for you guys too. I'm going to read out of Colossians 3:15 through 17. This is Paul. He's writing to the church of Colossal, a church much like us. And he wrote this letter a long time ago, but it applies, I think, directly to us. He says this in 15. It says, "And let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you are called to live in peace, and always be thankful. Let the message about Christ, in all its richness, fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom he gives. Sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts. And whatever you do or say, do it as a representative of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through him to God the Father." I love this verse. It's one of my favorite verses. And I want to break it down just a little bit and see how it applies to us and applies to Whitewater. At the very beginning, he says, "Let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts." This is just kind of my take on it, but I think that one of the things he could be getting at here is this. A lot of times I talk to people who maybe aren't fond of church, or maybe they just started coming to Whitewater and they've had negative church experiences, or even me in my own life have experienced this. You may have experienced a church culture where you feel like you need to dress up. You feel like you need to put your best face forward. You need to be on your best behavior. And in order to belong, to really fit in and be part of what's going on. I think what happens often is we take Jesus and we put him up as an example of how we're supposed to emulate. And we do want to follow Jesus, but we say, hey, these are all the rules that you're supposed to follow in order to be right with God, in order to be holy. And what happens is none of us can pull that off, because we're people, and we're broken, and we're messed up. And so what happens is we learn to be really good at faking it. And we learn to be really good at being fake, at putting on a fake face, putting on what we think people want to see from us. And what happens is, what I've noticed happen, at least from my experience, it creates a culture where people learn that they can't be themselves, and that people learn to put on that face. And people aren't able to be honest and be real. And so it says, let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. I think that peace that he's talking about, or maybe a piece of it, is when we realize that Christ came and he lived the perfect life that we couldn't live in our place, so that we could be free to live authentically and genuinely and be ourselves, because his grace has covered us and forgiven us. There's a great peace that comes with that. I feel like all of us, maybe you feel this way, I feel this way. I feel like there's this measuring stick inside my head and my heart that I'm always trying to measure up on. And Jesus measures up for us. And so that energy that has gone into putting on this face, or making sure that we're doing our best, or all these different things, that gets satisfied by Christ. And that peace, I think, fills that and allows that energy to overflow into loving other people. Because it goes on and it says, in your hearts, for as members of one body, you are called to live in peace. Because when we are able to live authentic and genuinely and open and transparent, because we're not afraid of criticism, everyone's able to belong. That invites other people to be authentic and genuine and let their guard down and share what's going on in their life. And people are able to truly belong. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Whitewater, is we're a church that is real. Right? I mean, we have Seahawks jerseys. I love it. I love that we can show up and we can be ourselves. And I think that creates a place where people can belong. It goes on. I'm just going to continue to break this verse down. I think this verse is really cool. It says, as one body, you're called to live in peace and always be thankful. I feel like, at least me in my life, I don't know about you, but thankfulness is something I often kind of brush to the side. I'm always aware of the things that are going bad in my life or the things I'm upset about or stressed about. And usually my prayer life sounds something like, hey, God, help me get through this. Help me figure this out. Help me this out. And then when things are going good, it's kind of like, thanks. And I just kind of cruise. And the Bible over and over and over and over and over again talks about how important it is to give thanks and to be thankful to God for what he's given us, because I think it actually changes our perspective on life, and it fills us with that peace and hope, and it can change our life, really, to be thankful. And so we're going to do that here in a second, which will be awesome. Then it says, let the message about Christ, which we just talked about, in all its richness, fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all wisdom he gives. Sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts. That's what we do here. In fact, many of you might notice that the music we play at Whitewater is often very upbeat and energetic, and this is why. I feel like Sundays are our time to come together and celebrate what God's doing in our life and give thanks to him, and so we intentionally play songs that are upbeat and giving thanks to God, and so we did a little of that, and we'll do a little bit of that more in a little bit. And he says, to God with thankful hearts, and whatever you do or say, do it as a representative of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through him to God the Father. I think that being a representative of the Lord Jesus, when we've been looking at the life of Jesus going through Mark, that Jesus was someone who turned outsiders into insiders, and he created places of belonging where people could come and be themselves. He gave permission for people to be themselves and be authentic and not to live under the pressure that the religious people were putting on him. So when it says, whatever you do as a representative of Jesus giving thanks to God the Father, he's saying, go and live authentic lives so that people can belong and they can in turn be authentic. I just think that verse is awesome, and I think it just segued really great into what I want to do. I personally am extremely thankful for you guys, and that's not just like the thing that I should say because I'm the pastor or whatever. I really am. I was really thinking about it, and I am so blessed and so fortunate to be a part of a group of family like this that creates places where people can belong. And I love that I can invite people to Whitewater, anybody to Whitewater, and say, hey, you're gonna love it. Someone's gonna meet you and learn your name. Someone's gonna invite you into their life, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of this community. So thank you guys. And one of the ways I think that God's been doing a work in my heart, this is my turn to share, and then I'll pass it on, is I think me as a person, I tend to, when I walk into a room, I tend to look for people that are like me. So I look for man buns and tight jeans, and that's just kind of where I go to immediately. No, but I look for people with similar interests, right? Because, music, you play music, I play music too, great. And my wife's different. She walks into a room, and she automatically sees the people who are having a harder time connecting and sees the people who maybe aren't in the middle of whatever's going on. She goes and she brings them in, and she gets to know them and learns about them and engages with them. And I've been so inspired by that, and it's how Jesus did things. And so that's been changing for me over this last year. I'm starting to see different people, and I'm learning about football. I don't know. I'm not a football guy, and I'm learning about it, and I love it. And I'm learning about things. You get to learn things you don't know before as you meet new people. And so that's an area that I've just been thankful that God's been growing me, and you guys have helped me grow in that way, and I'm just thankful to be a part of this church. So thank you guys. What I'm going to do now, Joe, are you around here, Joe? Thanks, Joe. Joe's going to take the microphone, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Is there anyone here who would like to share maybe what God's been doing in your life, maybe how Whitewater has impacted your life this last year, something that you're thankful for? I'm going to turn it over to you guys and let you guys kind of have the floor. Anybody would like to share? Over here. Dan Robbs. Oh, and start with your name when you get the mic so we know who you are.
You already introduced me, so I don't have to. I'm Dan. No, this year my wife and I have been coming to Whitewater for probably about 3 years now, and every year it just gets cooler and cooler to come here. I love it. The one thing that has always impressed me about Whitewater Church and Pastor George and the pastoral staff here is their willingness to, no matter how little of money I feel like sometimes this church has, to just spend money on others and to throw parties and to have barbecues. And I always kind of think, boy, I wonder if we have the money for that. That's just kind of where my brain goes a little bit. And so it's been really awesome this year. And I think for me personally, God's still working on it, like having a giving heart and giving above and beyond and extra. But I'll tell you what, it's easy to give when you come to this church, I've just found, because I know right where the money goes. The money goes to help with coffee, and the money goes to buying hot dogs and hamburgers so we can have an awesome rad barbecue and reach the neighborhood. And I don't know, that's the one thing that has really impressed me even more this year. I've just seen that we do more and more of that, and throw in the one child thing, and I feel like it's not just the Whitewater budget that does it. It's like George brings a vision, and we all as a group, as a family, step up and go, hey, we're going to stand behind that, no matter if that means time or our talent or our finances. We just all race to it. So I love that. Like Mike said, it's so rad to be a part of this family. So
thanks. Yeah. All right, who's next? Who wants to share what's been going on, what God's been doing in your life, what you're thankful for? Oh, in the back.
I'm Virginia Larson. I wrote it out on the Sunday school slip of paper, something random. But I've been going to Whitewater for about 1.5 years now, and I started with Flood the Sound way back when. And the first thing I told my family when I came was, this is the friendliest place I've ever been. And it's really hard to go church shopping if you've ever had to do that. It's really tough. It's really tough to go by yourself. But Whitewater made it really easy. And so I wrote out some things that I've seen God do. He has affected my view of outsiders. I am way more likely to include my coworkers or my friends in what God is doing in my life, in Whitewater's life, in just anything that has to do with God. I'm way more excited about it. So excited, because I can see God moving. It's changed the way I've actually viewed my coworkers and family. I'm way more open about it. And I had this coworker who was talking about how she never goes to church, and it's because she's kind of been burned and she just doesn't do the church thing. And I said, well, we're doing this foster kid party, and she's like, I love giving to stuff like that. How can I get involved? Give me a flyer. And that's one of the things that Whitewater has made easy for me to, it's an easy way to get involved. And like Dan was saying, there are so many events that you can get involved in and you can get excited about, and it just brings the community together, and even people who don't attend church. I think that's all I put on my little paper. Thanks.
Thanks, Virginia. We've got a lot from this side. Anybody wanna share what the God did? They're all the way in the back. Oh, he's coming around. There we go.
Hi, my name's Rudy. We've been coming to Whitewater since last September. One of the first things that drew us in, of course, was the awesome music. Give the band a hand. But when we came here, we were kind of, as Virginia said, we were kind of church shopping. We visited several places, and just none of them seemed to fit. The very first time we walked in, I'm a lot more outgoing than my wife. My wife's usually very reserved, and I believe we were in about halfway through the second song, and she turned to me and said, "I think we're home." I'm like, "Whoa, what?" Then when we left, we were walking out. We had teenage kids at the time. Older kids, and when we were about halfway to the car, and the kids said, "We're coming back here next week, right?" So it was pretty much a done deal for me. Anywhere that can include my kids. Kids are a big part of our life. A lot of kids that we've poured into over the years feel welcome here, and a lot of places aren't like that. Like I said, we were church shopping when we found Whitewater. God just brought us here. We were in the position where we were burnt out, I guess, on church, and it was a big part of the burnout was the religious side of it, like Michael was talking about, and just to come here and know that people are real, and when you start to have meetings with the leadership and they say, "Let's meet at Buffalo Wild Wings, it's cheap beer and wing night." I'm like, right on. This is my kind of place. So, and just as as we say, the community, like others have said, I feel like I could invite anybody. There's everybody from different walks of life here, and it literally, it really is. It's one big community, and I'm just so thankful that I didn't walk away. I knew God was there, and I just knew that I needed to find a place where like-minded people. The One Child event last year, as soon as I heard about it, we'd only been coming a short time, and I knew that I wanted to get involved. I had to at some stage, and I told George afterwards, I've never been part of an organization where I went 2 nights in a row and met all new people because there was like 80% participation. I've never been involved in an organization that many people wanted to get involved. So, and like we said, the going out to the community, I mean, a lot of places there's pew sitters, and that was the type of thing where I realized that my relationship with Christ was beyond that. It was time to go out and do. I'd learned as much as I can learn, not that we were ever going to stop growing, but I'd learned as much as I could learn, and it was time to go out and do to apply what I'd learned. So thank you, Whitewater, for giving us that opportunity.
Thanks, Phoebe. That's awesome. Who's next? Awesome.
Good morning. I'm Doug Bishop, and this is my wife, Vicki, and this is one of our kids, Matai. We came to Whitewater through this guy back here and his wife, Jennifer, and God, so you're in good company. And kind of the one-child thing is what got us involved, and we haven't looked back since. We both kind of grew up in the church that you went with your Sunday best, your tie, and your suit, and your sweater, and nobody went to church. Nobody talked about drinking, because nobody here drinks, right? Nobody ever been to a casino, right? And you just feel comfortable here that you could talk about things like that. It's not the proper everything's, we all live a life, and we all have sin, or we wouldn't be here. Just like I say, we're just so happy, and it's growing up, and even sometimes as a young adult, God, I got to go to church Sunday, man. If I don't show up, people say I wasn't there. Our kids, we've got kids upstairs, and they're asking Saturday night, are we going to church tomorrow? Are we going to church tomorrow? And we're like, yeah, we're going to church tomorrow, and we're excited to go. And I think that means a lot. If you can't wait for Sunday to go to church, I think that means a whole lot.
Thank you.
Say hi. We're speechless.
Who's next? Over here. Oh, we'll go here and then we'll go there. That's good.
I'm Tammy McMullen, and I belong to Aaron and Tabor and Sloan. But I appreciate the presence of God here. Where I'm getting fed as a little baby Christian, and maybe somebody who doesn't know Christ can feel him. It's not religious. It's love, and it's his power, his grace that's over us, and it never fails. So it's nice to invite friends and clients that have never stepped in a church before, and I appreciate there's no steeple. I love the steeple, but there's feelings that people get. They get scared when they get to the door with the steeple, but we are the steeples. So I love everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Tammy. Right here.
Hi, my name's Chris. What brought me to Whitewater was my sister. She got me to come quite a while ago when you guys were still at the school over on 176. But I walk in. I'm not, I don't look like the most church-going fella. And George just walks up to me, and he just starts talking to me. I had no idea who he was. We had a good conversation. He's asked me about tattoos. And, and then all of a sudden, here comes the service. It comes on, and there goes George walking. I was like, hey, that's your guys' pastor? And she's like, yeah. I was like, dude, I just had a cool conversation with him, And then I just started coming more often. I started going by myself. My sister ended up moving away, so I just kept coming by myself. And one day, George was just like, hey, he calls me. And I was like, what do you want? What's going on? He's like, hey, I just want to get to know you. I want to know your story. I want to just go have coffee with you. And I was just like, thought to myself, I was like, that's, not every church does that. I couldn't imagine a pastor just coming up to somebody, and just being like, hey, let's go hang out. I was just like, yeah, let's do it. So we had a great talk, and I've been ever since. And I started bringing friends, and I work with a lot of guys straight out of prison, a lot of people with addiction problems and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's just so cool that I could be like, hey, you guys, come over to Whitewater. It's amazing. And I've had a lot of guys come, and they loved it. I had a guy come to the first service today, and him and his whole family, they were like, hey, we're coming back. We're coming back next Sunday. That's so awesome. I love Whitewater. It's a great place. And thanks, guys.
Yeah. A little fun fact. Chris has a guitar with a scorpion in the headstock. Just a fun fact. I think that's cool. Yeah, I am jealous. Who's next? Who else wants to share something that they're thankful for? How Whitewater. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Just so that everybody doesn't have to strain their neck. My name's almost, right? This close. Got so excited I did a cartwheel. So my name's Jason. Coming up on, I think, about 7 years here. I was actually one of the small families that kicked off Whitewater when it was called Bethany South in Tim and Johanna Weaver's home. And so we've been through 3 different elementary, or schools, I should say. And one of the things I'm really thankful for here in 2015 is that we kind of, I think, found home. Like this place feels so much better than a school. And the schools served their purpose, and they were functional, right, and efficient, but this just feels homey. And so one of the things I'm thankful for is that this feels like a great place to be. Michael had touched on it earlier. Man, I love this guy to death. He is musically talented. I am not. I'm into cars. He is not. And so Whitewater is this great example of, like, outside of Whitewater, our paths would have never crossed. And I think that holds true for a lot of people here. I mean, we're in the same community. Some people drive from maybe a city or 2 away, but it's really cool that we have this common theme that's God, and we're all coming together and trying to figure this out, 1 week at a time. And I also think that people are really real and genuine. So one thing that's important in my life is spotting, like, authenticity, whether it's in friendships or work or hobbies or whatever. Man, I just hate fake stuff. And so I think a lot of people have been burned in the past by the pretentious churches that put on this happy face and pretend to really care about you for 30 seconds, and then I don't remember her name, and then the next person for 30 seconds. I don't feel that here. And I think it's kind of displayed because before service, after service, you see groups of people hanging out. We're not trying to, shuttle cattle in and out quickly. People hang out and actually intermingle and mix it up, and that's really cool. So personally, I'm really thankful for a setup crew. Like Jason's one of the guys. Tyler, we show up at 7:30-ish. Never on time, but hey, that's our thing. Man, we get up 7:30 and we show up here just to make sure that Michael and everybody can do their thing. And so it's really cool because usually I've always felt like, man, my sense of humor is like, I don't know, 4th grade, 5th grade level, really immature. And so, thank you. So you'd go to other places and you're like, I can't say all these things in my head because I'll look like a moron. And then I met this guy. And now it's like a race to see who can be childish quicker while we're setting stuff up. Like 7:45, the jabs just start. And it actually makes work a lot funner, right? I mean, we're laughing, we're doing work for God. And so I think that's really cool. So that I'm thankful for kind of meeting new friends. And we have intermixed with our stupid one-liners and cheap shots are actually genuinely deep conversations. And so that's really cool, because I have like a lot of friends from first grade and sixth grade and childhood that you spend a lot of time with them, but you don't feel that you can actually go deep with them if you need to. And so, man, I've got a handful of guys here that I feel I can do that with at the drop of a hat. So that's awesome. So I'm also thankful for looking around Christmas service, 192 or something like that. Really cool. I look around and I don't know most of your guys' names, and that's awesome, right? That shows that we're healthy and that we're growing. And I look forward to kind of making friends with some of you guys in the future. So if anyone has an immature sense of humor, myself or Jason are the guys you want to see, and we'll get you hooked into setup crew.
Thanks. If you guys don't know Jason, please get to know him. Get to know the setup and teardown crew. For years, he's like the first and last person here. Like, I'm leaving, locking up, and he's still here. And when we did the move into Station House, 3 o'clock in the morning nights, there's tons of people that did that. There's a lot of people that poured in. But just give him a thank you if you see him and those setup and teardown people, and get to know them. They're awesome guys. Anybody else? Anybody else? If you let it linger just a little bit, they come out of the woodwork. See?
I'm Adam, and I know not a lot of you guys seen me. I was part of Whitewater when before I joined Amazon, so they made me work on Sundays, so I couldn't be here anymore. Hey, we used to do the child. Yeah. Before Sarah became my wife, before Amazon, before a lot of stuff, I used to do the childhood education thing, the second grade. And before then, we never did anything for the church. And one day we just said, "Hey, George, you guys got anything?" He's like, "Oh, we need really somebody to help out in childcare." And I was like, "Oh, I've never done that, but Sarah's done that, so I'll just take her lead, I guess." But I'm so glad to have had that opportunity, that God gave us that opportunity. And I don't think big churches, I don't know if I would have gotten that opportunity at a big church or something like that, but it was so fulfilling to be able to talk to kids about Christ and to learn that kind of, I don't know, that kind of, it's different when you teach it than when you're learning it. But yeah, this community was fantastic back then, and I'm sure it's just as great now. I'm sorry I haven't seen you guys lately, but yeah, that's what I'm thankful for, what God has given me through this church.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to get the door right there. We have about time for one or two more if we want. Yeah, right back there in the back.
Well, my name's Maverick. Most places, I hate standing in front of people, and this is a little bit. But, yeah, and, like, I came to Whitewater for the first time for the Christmas Eve service last year with Rudy and the family over here, and I went to church as a kid, and I hated it. It was too much. Tried to make me sing, not my thing. But I came here, well, actually, I came to their house at 6 in the morning. Probably the most embarrassing thing ever. Showed up fully dressed, 6 in the morning. It was 6 p.m. I was supposed to be here. Yeah, it was wonderful. But I showed up at the right time, and I walked in the doors of the school, and probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen as a church, and I've been here ever since. It's a wonderful place. And I love it here.
It's awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Maverick. Anyone else? Time for about one more. 1.5 more. Right there. Oh. Uh-oh.
Hey guys, I'm Blake Peterson. I'm fairly new here. I've only been coming for off and on about 3 months now. And these guys here, Dan and Rachel, they brought me in through our kids. We go to the same school, and that's actually the main thing that's what brought me here. I'm the guy that, went to kid, we went to church, and that was just kind of the thing. That was religion, it was talked about in the family, not really a whole lot. And, being a parent, having a kid, a foundation is extremely important. And you guys here have welcomed us with big hands, big hearts, and it's really amazing. My kid, every morning, she's like, we going to church? I'm going to play. I want to learn. And it's like, how can you say no to that, I was kind of burned out on organized religion, and, I was Christian. I, do unto others as you would yourselves, but, going to church just wasn't really my thing. Came here, George stuck out his hand. He was like, welcome. And it's just like, that one word really resonated within me. And so no matter what, every time I come here, I feel welcome. And it's great. So, that's one of the biggest things I'm thankful for, is that there's a family, an organization, a foundation to pass on to my daughter. So it's great.
Awesome. Thanks. Anybody else? Time for one last one. Yeah. Put him on the spot. Anybody else want to share what God's been doing in their life? How you found Whitewater? Anything that you're thankful for before we move on? I want to give everyone a shot. Right there. Here, there is one more.
Well, I'm also Joe, and I found Whitewater 4.5 years ago when my husband died. It's been truly amazing to have the love and warmth from everybody. And my daughter, and they're in the videos, a lot of the videos, my daughter and her husband, they found Whitewater through one of the neighborhood parties that they had. And it's just amazing, the love that is poured out through Whitewater. And I work. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go to work, and I get off work so that I can come to church on Sundays. It's very important to me to be here with everybody. And I just want to say thank you to everybody here at Whitewater, and thank God for coming back into my life after losing my husband, because I'm totally fulfilled after losing my husband through Whitewater. And it's just been amazing, the feeling that you get. My heart swells every time I walk into church every Sunday. It's all through the love of God. And I thank you all for being here for me.
Amen. Thank you, Joe. Well, as the band would you guys, the band want to come back up on stage? Guys, I love you guys so much. I love when people ask, how's church going? The only word that I can come up with is fun. Can't remember the last time I used the word fun to describe church. It's always like, it's good, which is code for like, it's really hard, but God's good, right? But it's fun. We're a party church, and I love being a part of this church. At the end of that verse that I read earlier, it said, let the message about Christ in all its richness fill your lives. Teach and counsel one another with all wisdom he gives. Sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts. I think it's only fitting that we do that now. What do you guys think about that? Should we do that? Let's stand up and let's thank the Lord together.